Greetings, fellow Duplicants. Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to the very first episode of a new series playing Oxygen Not Included Volcanea. If you would like to skip the overview of the game or the setup of the scenario, please use YouTube chapters. So before I start, I will give you a little rundown about Oxygen Not Included if you're new to the game. It is a space colony simulation game with a lot of engineering elements. And when I say a lot of engineering elements, I mean a lot. Get ready to pull out a calculator at times. Volcanea is an asteroid made up of magma, and it's difficult to work with because it radiates a lot of heat. And one of the primary game mechanics in this game is basically everything generates heat. Animals, cooking, processing ores, everything generates heat. So playing on a volcano asteroid has significantly increased challenges as a result of you don't want to suffer heat death. Not heat death as like it's getting colder and colder and colder, but heat death as in like you cook your asteroid to death. I will be playing with all the story traits, and I'll go over those in just a minute. And I am not using the Spaced Out DLC. I never bought it. I beta tested it, didn't like it, and never purchased it. And this series is a result of the weekly poll where you guys vote for the games I play. And yeah, it will air on YouTube. So let's start. I'm going to be playing a survival game rather than No Sweat, which I'm sure I'll come to regret, and then standard instead of the lab. As the title indicates, we'll be playing Volcanea, and what I want to do here is I want to random these until I get one that represents what a Volcanea asteroid would be, because like right now it's metal, pore, and subsurface ocean, which doesn't really make a lot of sense for a volcano asteroid. So I want one that has like, you know, magma channels or something that would represent, you know, with extra volcanoes. Well, metal pore. Ooh. This, but maybe something more fun than just that. Come on now. Geoactive and geodes? Alright. I can sit with that. So geoactive, there's more geysers and vents than usual, and geodes contain rare material caches. Sounds like fun. I have not played with story traits, but there are new story traits which are sort of interesting points of interest for you to explore. So there's the Somnium Synthesizer, Critter, Fluxomatic, Mysterious Hermit, and Ancient Specimen, and I'm going to be leaving all these in. I know nothing about them, but it could be fun exploring. Here's my seed, but don't spoil it for me, because I will obviously not reveal the asteroid to myself, knowing where all the good stuff is. So it's going to take probably a hot minute to try to random decent starting characters. I find that given my rustiness about the game, I probably want the best duplicants to start as possible. So I apologize for the RNG. There's no prepared carefully or anything like that. So what I'm looking for is all three ideally would be able to wear suits. I want one to be able to dig and build, the other to maybe supply and farm, and one specifically for supply and research. So we'll see what we can do here. So these are, if you're unfamiliar with the game entirely, your starting characters, and each one will have 1, 2, or 3 skills. The more skills they have, the less skilled they are at it, but they do learn their interests faster. They can have traits to increase specific things. So, for instance, you know, Ruby likes to be around meteor showers, or Mima doesn't get food poisoning, and then traits. And you're definitely going to roll strong characters at the start. So I'm looking for like a researcher, a research supplier, ideally, who can suit wear. And that can be sometimes difficult to find. And then the name of the colony I will set up later. So some of the most important skills really early on will be digging, research, and building. Because you start off, obviously, in an asteroid, and if you can't dig around, that's going to be really tough. And if you can't build, that's going to be really tough. And another thing to look for is to make sure to avoid traits that are, like, really terrible. Because some traits are a lot harder to deal with than others. Like, pacifist is kind of a meh, whatever trait. Whereas certain traits like slowing down your movement speed or breathing extra, they're much, much more punishing to try to compensate for. Wow. That's rough. A lot of these are new, so I'm kind of unfamiliar with them. I gotta take a look at them. So here's operating, supplying, digging. But they do eat a lot more. Come on now. Operating research with grease monkey for extra machinery. That would be a really high machinery person. But, you know, they take their time on the bathroom. Digging, building with quick learning, but you eat a lot. You guys killing me. Come on, give me something good. Alright, I'll lower my standards a little bit just to get this going. So the first one, here we go. This is okay. I don't really care about germ resistance, so the traits doesn't matter, but research, suit wearing, and doctoring. That sounds fine. Suit wearing is really nice because a huge part of trying to get things done is how fast your duplicants move around. So you definitely don't want like negative athletics early on. And yeah, you can specialize your rerolls this way if you want to pick something specific. So the next one, let's say like I'll only reroll diggers. So dig, building, operating. I want like dig, building, suit wearing would be ideal. And this person would sort of be my excavator, laying out roads and, or not roads, but tiles and the like. Well, digging and suit wearing with increased construction speed. That's close. I don't really need digging +5 to start with because it's one that you level up rather quickly at because there's a lot to dig. But I kind of like them. Now, that was a dig build, but not suit wear. Dig, build, suit wear with buff. Perfect. I don't care about your tiny bladder. All right. And I've already picked out 3 Patreon patrons to be named after these characters. All right, so the last one, let's do supply. Some sort of supplier, maybe with some food, cooking, or farming. Farming would be pretty good. Farming is fairly reliable. And suit wearing is always really nice to have. So maybe supply, farming, tidying. Decreased machinery, that's okay. Increased decor. Okay, I'll manage it. The other things to look at is their stress reactions and their overjoyed response. So stress reaction is what they do when they get too stressed. You usually can avoid stress as long as you design your colonies well. It's kind of like a RimWorld mental break. But overjoyed matters as well because it can benefit others or it can benefit themselves. They can work really fast or they can try to make other people happy, etc., etc. But I like it. These are maybe not meta, but it's close enough for what I'm looking for. So let's rename them. We've got Fang Face. We've got Glitch. And Chimic. Okay. And name the colony. I'm just going to do Volcanea. I'm not super creative. And fingers crossed, our starting location is generous. All right, I've woken at the target location, but colonization efforts have already hit a hitch. I was supposed to land on the planet's surface, but became trapped miles underground instead. Although the conditions are not ideal, it's imperative that I establish a colony here and begin mounting efforts to escape. So the TLDR of this game is that you are sort of in the middle of an asteroid, and there are resources and different biomes all around you. And ultimately, there's a few different wind conditions, but one of them is to build a rocket and blast off to the Great Rift beyond. You generally, unless you have the starting condition of alternate pod location, you generally start in sort of a very temperate biome. But everything beyond this temperate biome, and more likely to the south or below me, is going to be like magma and the like. So the general layout is... how do I do the super zoom? I forget. But the general layout is like spaces up. I'm rather equidistant left and right, and then there's going to be like magma pools and down below. So the first things we want to do right when we're starting out is maybe assign some skills for priorities so that the people that are particularly good at certain things do those specific things. So for instance, Fangface, you got a little bit of a bonus to research. So I'm going to have that be your high priority because you are, of course, here, let me select them. He is, of course, our researcher. Back to the priority. So as far as attacking goes, it looks like Glitch has a bit of a benefit. Tidying would be Chimic or Glitch. They're both... set it up like that. Doctoring would be Fangface as well. Decorating doesn't really matter because I'm not going to do a lot of decorating, but it looks like Chimic will be our agriculturalist. Supplying, storing, digging, and building. So Glitch, I think what I'm going to do is have you dig and build as a really high priority and then tidy when you're not, supplying and storing after that. Something like this. And I'm sure I'll modify this like 1,000 times over, but that's to start. So some of the things that you want to consider right when you're starting is you're going to have some immediate needs. So your immediate needs are going to be like going to the bathroom, eating, and sleeping. And that's what we're going to have to meet right at the start. And this is a little difficult to explain to someone that has never played before, but you also want to start thinking big. So this printing pod is sort of the heart of your colony. But in order to make sure that you aren't slowing yourself down a lot, you want to start planning for like a main corridor to allow for fast movement of speed. So right off the start in the game, you just have access to like ladders, but eventually you get access to transport tubes and fire poles and things like that. So it's usually pretty good to designate like a nice wide area, like an elevator wide shaft next to somewhere near your colony to allow you to travel quickly. The trouble that I'm going to have with that, where I started here, is there's a lot of water underneath me, and it's kind of hard to punch through water. You can move water around, but I'm not going to be able to just like put a ladder through the water and then have my duplicants be fine. They'll get cold and hypothermic. So either I can have my main corridor shaft go through here, which this looks like some sort of slime biome, which will stop me or slow me down, or try to move the water eventually. So I'm just trying to keep that in mind. What I might end up doing is having the sort of main transportation vertical axis right around here. So let's get started. I am just going to do a little digging. And then get some sandstone to get some ladders and the like. So we'll say... I'll expand the main platform out a little bit. And we'll say that my transportation hub will be like somewhere in this area. Like, giving a lot of space for expansions. Something like that. And these are all the tutorials popping up. So the other thing I'm going to want to plan pretty early on is the outhouse. So it's warning me that I don't have an outhouse built, and you don't want your duplicants sort of peeing and pooing well, not pooing, but peeing everywhere, because they'll contaminate water, and then you'll have a much harder time, like, drinking. So that's going to be probably a pretty high priority. The first outhouse that I build doesn't need to be super fancy. Like, I could just put an outhouse over here and they'll use it. But eventually we're going to want a proper latrine. So that leads me to the room display, and I know some of my overlay is covering it. But a latrine would be a room somewhere between 12 and 64 tiles with a toilet and a wash station and no industrial machinery, and it will make them happier, which keeps them from having mental breaks. So let's go ahead and put the bathroom sort of over here in this nook this way, and then I'm going to prioritize it as 6 so that they're going to work on this more than other tasks. Ezrin, Old Man Mino, Double Dwarf, and Shona, thank you for the resubs. So the wash basin allows your duplicants to wash their hands after they go to the bathroom, and that's also going to be kind of important. So, what I'm going to need for that is a pitcher pump to be able to pump water to the, for them to use. But that does mean that we're going to need like a vertical ladder going down. And duplicants do not like to be wet. So I think what I'll do is I'll have this as 6, or 7 rather. Already priority creep, right? And then ladder down to 6. And then start getting a little bit of copper, because I wouldn't mind some metals. Now, at the start, it's also going to warn me about the oxygen generation, but this is oxalite. Oxalite is an ore that outgasses oxygen. It emits oxygen for free, but eventually it will run itself out, and then I'll have to produce my own oxygen. So the current priority right now is build a latrine and cots. So cots will keep them happy for sleeping. And that's relatively simple. So as far as a cot goes, you're going to want somewhere that is oxygenated. So don't put it in like a pool of carbon dioxide, and then somewhere where it isn't too bright. Unfortunately, there's a bunch of shine bugs around me, but I can kill them if that's a problem. So here's the light overlay. So you're going to want somewhere where it's darker. And then here is the gas overlay. Oh no, that's not gas. Gas overlay. So the sort of teal is oxygen areas, and then the non-teal is stuff that you can't breathe as easily. Two houses. I'm not even going to bother digging the rest. I'll just go straight to the outhouses. And then we are going to want a wash station here. So I'm going to put a wash station here. And the wash station isn't going to do anything until we have a supply of water. And that's what we're working on down here. Keep it simple. So each individual duplicant will have their own needs: bladder, breath, stamina, calories, body temperature, decor, stress, health, morale, etc. And this will help control where they're going to go potty. Like you do. And I think these two shine bugs I'm just going to murder, so that I can get rid of them and set up cots somewhere a little bit more easy. Because this is an oxygenated area, so it's going to be a pretty good spot for them to sleep. And I don't have any loud sleepers, so I can have these beds be adjacent to one another without too much issue. Yeah, okay, there's enough oxygen there. Hey, Ari, thank you for the resub. As far as the wash basin goes, we want them washing their hands when they're moving left to right. So after they use the toilet, they wash their hands. But of course, I don't have water yet for it, so that will be another thing to do. And then I'm going to put a pneumatic door here, and this pneumatic door will allow this area to be designated as a latrine for a bit of a morale bonus. I can even just say, once the door is built, leave the door open at all times, but it will designate it as an area. So, here we go. We have our latrine. It is 26 tiles, 3 buildings, meets the bare minimum requirement. Alright, then the other things I'm going to want to build immediately is the cots. And then to get water for the wash basin. So, water for the wash basin. This part is a little sketchy, because giving your duplicants access to fresh water, they kind of like to pee in it and stuff. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a catch basin. Essentially, if my duplicants do choose to tinkle inappropriately, it pools somewhere where it isn't damaging. So what will end up happening is it will... Here, let me actually go the other way. What will end up happening is it will require them to move and traverse more distance, but then if there's ever a spill on the ladder, it won't collect into the water. Because we have this, like, little catch basin for it. And eventually I'm going to have a proper aquifer, you know, water collection, etc. So, new colony achievement... Bed and bath. At least a bed for every duplicant and one toilet. Alright. Put these as 7s. So we still don't have water for the wash basin. And this will just help to keep things not germy. Down here, it's mostly carbon dioxide, so it's going to be a little bit harder to breathe. Bud. Oh, it's kind of not what I wanted to do. Oh, because that's too high. There we go. And let's make sure that the platform underneath us gets built first, so we don't lose access to this. Should be pretty quick. So it's warning me that I don't have an oxygen generator or a food source. I don't need a food source just yet. I do have a ration box, which has some really terrible, very not tasty food in it of muckroot nutrient bars, but, you know, eventually we're going to want, you know, farming, cooking, etc. We're just one step at a time. Hey, Still Boop, thank you for the resub. All right, we can now fetch water. We're gonna have a little bit of soggy feet, but, you know, whatever. They'll live. And the fetched water is also pretty critical for research as well. A lot of the research that you'll end up doing requires water and soil as things to research with. I know it might sound odd, but it's just the way it is. There we go. Interesting. So taking a look down here, we've got some slime biomes around, or maybe not biomes, but slime areas. Looks to be iron ore and copper ore and things off in this direction. Here, let's not dig through that just yet. And it's downtime. Question for you guys. What should I build next? So there's some options here. I can go for a barracks. Mess hall. So a barracks is, you know, a dedicated room for them to sleep in. A mess hall for them to eat in. I could also do a kitchen. Research. Or, yeah. Or I can actually start farming. Or try to, at least. So, you know, there's a lot, like, farming requires research or whatever, but ultimately, yeah, there they go. What do you want me to do next is up to you. So here is the research tree. Well, I don't even have a research station yet, but there is a research station here. And in order to power that up, there's like a little hamster wheel that people can run on. So here is germs and diseases. We use the outhouse. The outhouse gets polluted, full of food poisoning germs. The sink well, it's not a sink. The wash basin here is required for anyone moving left to right to use. It wouldn't be a bad idea to have 2 wash basins in case one wash basin is, as you can see here, being currently used. This person or this duplicant would walk past it otherwise. So I just, like, forced him not to. Because it's a checkpoint. So it'd be good to get another wash basin. But, and then they don't introduce germs into their colony because they clean their hands. So I'll do another wash basin here. Just in case. And then they're going to sleep. Savanti, thank you for the resub. And Malden, if I missed it. Cheers. I'm just looking around and see if there's anything. Some paku, some fish, some dust caps, which are like mushrooms that you can farm in carbon dioxide. Coal. There's iron up there. A decent amount of algae, so producing oxygen is going to be pretty easy. At least for now. There seems to be a decent amount of liquid water, which is good. Specifically the clean stuff. This stuff is polluted, but not germy. There's polluted and then polluted, and then germy polluted. So this water can be filtered, but the slime lung around it has, you know, is germy. And it wants me to unlock these blueprints. I haven't played for a long time, so I think these are all just cosmetics. Oh god, how many do they want me to print? Is that it? Okay, that's it. Cool. Lab. We're gonna build a lab. Cool. So taking a look at the room display, a laboratory requires 2 science buildings. I'm not going to be able to accommodate that, at least initially. A light source, no industrial machinery, and between 32 and 120 size. So, let's go ahead. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a floor underneath my latrines, because we'll actually just move faster on tiles than on, you know, rough terrain. And for the laboratory, I'll put it above the bathroom, I guess. So your laboratory should be somewhat close to your water supply, just out of convenience, because your water supply is essentially fuel for the lab, as odd as that might sound. So I'll put a laboratory up here. It will displace the bristle blossom and the bluff briar, but that's fine. The printing pod is indeed a free source of light, but I think I'm going to leave it alone and have a dedicated laboratory. Light bulbs are not too expensive. I can afford it. I could put a lab next to the printing pod if you want, but I don't know if that counts as the illumination requirement for the lab's efficiency bonus. Maybe it does. But it enables geotuner and mission control station use, so it's really not that important for just plain old research, I don't think. How's the heat? Okay, so it's temperate. A little cooler over here. You can kind of see the warmer spots, which is where the slime's going to be. And then it's cooler here because... Oh, what is this? Infectious polluted oxygen vent. Oh, okay. I spied something. So that's a little trick where if you And I can't believe I remember that after 14 months. But if you do priority and do top priority, and you mouse over, this is a geyser, where, generally speaking, the materials in Oxygen Not Included are, like, pseudo-finite. So, for instance, if I mined out all the copper in this asteroid, there would be no more copper, unless meteor strikes on the surface brought copper in, or if I have a volcano of copper. But then there are geysers and volcanoes that produce things for free. This polluted oxygen vent probably produces very hot oxygen or something like that, so there's generally a cost associated. It's, like, not truly free. Make sure that my bathrooms have floors. As far as airflow goes, Lady Stormguard, these regular tiles are going to be replaced as soon as I have the airflow tiles available. And in fact, this entire corridor will be hollowed out eventually, in lieu of, like, fireman ladder poles and other stuff like that. So it's temporary. Oxygen's a little thin here, but as soon as I tap this area, this has like a dense pocket of oxygen, which will help to supplement this area I'm digging into. Can you dump heat into space somehow? No, space is like a vacuum. There's not really anywhere to place heat. So there are, like, ways to heat sink. There's two sort of easier things. So there's anti-entropy thermonullifier, ANT, which you fuel with hydrogen gas and it produces cold. And then there's Wheezeworts, which are like a organic sort of kind of like ocean coral plant, which also produces cold. And those two are generally your main drivers. There are also ways to delete heat through, like, steam generators. So you take some sort of... You take, like I'll just make something up. You take very hot oil from your oil processing. You take the heat from that hot oil, dump it into water, turn the water into steam, run the steam through a steam generator, and the steam generator will then take some of that heat, turning it into electrical energy. So there's a bunch of different ways to, like, delete heat in the game. Some are more magical, like the anti-entropy thermonullifier, and then some are more practical, like the steam generators. Yeah, you can technically superheat steam or some similar gas and dump it into space. Yeah, any gases you don't want, you can just, like, filter out to space. So often in my, like, late game colonies, I'll just be dumping unwanted carbon dioxide, to space, because I don't need it and I don't need to filter it. But it all depends. All depends on design decisions. Now I'm going to make sure I punch a hole into this oxalate oxygen pocket. Making my life a little bit easier. Cheers. Now, I don't have them organizing anything or storing anything just yet, but let's talk a little bit about research, right? So I'm going to want a research station. I'll stick it right here. Why not? And research stations are obviously going to want power. And then the other thing that I'm going to need to do is to power it up. So I think it's going to look a little janky because of this oxalate node. Well, you know what? I can actually just put it in this hallway here. It's fine. So I'm going to have a manual, like, hamster wheel and a battery powering my research station as soon as I have a little bit more copper. Like, kind of ran out. Your cam is still paused? I can fix that. You're good to go. Sorry about the delay. So this is sort of the very basic setup for, forget that. Very basic setup for research. But this will not meet the requirements of a laboratory because it only has one science building, not two. But I am keeping the manual generator and the battery separate. And then over here, I'm just digging this part so the oxalite can start outgassing to the left. Almost downtime. I don't think I have anyone that is good as at operating, aka running that hamster wheel. Definitely not Chimmick, so I'm going to have them be lower priority for operation because they don't have good machinery skills. Let me go through them all at one, a little bit more in depth here to make sure that I can highlight anyone that is particularly skilled and remove them if they're not. And then we also starting to get idle people. That's okay. In fact, don't use the mouse wheel, the hamster wheel until the batteries are built. Kind of no point. You just run it for no reason. So idleness, huh? One of the things that obviously you can do with idleness is to store some things. But I'm trying to think if there's better alternatives. Maybe continue a ladder going up and then digging these soils out. Eventually you're going to want to like clean up all the sort of detritus, all the debris, all the supplies and stuff because there's a decoration value, and when your duplicants become more capable, they're going to want to be around prettier things. So having all the stuff unstored will eventually upset them, but I'm so early on that it's really not that much of a problem. I'd rather just build. So now I can re-enable the hamster wheel. The hamster wheel will power up, and let me do the power overlay. The hamster wheel will produce 400 watts. It will fill up the battery, and then the battery can charge the research station. But tomorrow, because they're on break. They're union-mandated break. Going potty and eating. Alright, same question, what to build next, but I kind of already have a laboratory. So this is also sort of like what to research next as well. So if we were to make a barracks would just be, a bunch of cots in a dedicated room. It's pretty straightforward. A mess hall would be a mess table in a dedicated room. Very straightforward as well. A kitchen would have some sort of refrigerator, electric grill, etc. Kitchens are a little bit harder to accommodate because I don't have all the technology for it, but I could work towards it. A greenhouse would be just something with a farm station, and we could start farming. And as far as farming goes, I have blossom seeds, briar seeds, muckroot seeds, or muckroot. So yeah, I have some stuff that I can start farming. See what you guys think. Thank you for tuning in to Oxygen Not Included Volcanea, which originally streamed live on Twitch June 15th. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you'd like to join my gaming community, Rhadamant.com also has a link to Discord, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching, and a special thank you to my Patreon patrons, Twitch subscribers, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow duplicants,